India is all set to host the G20 summit, and focus will be, among many things, climate and how, of course, India can be voice of the global south. With me is Minister of State in the Ministry of External Affairs and also Minister of State in the Ministry of Culture, Meenakshi Lekhi. Ma'am, welcome to WION. My first question to you is how momentous this occasion is for India as India hosts this mega summit.
So I would say G20 presidency being hosted by India, I think none could have explained it better than Mr. Shonak, who said India is the right country at the right time to host the right event. So G20 presidency, which is taking basically the economic might of the world together to discuss the problem which plague the global economy and also all the other issues, because end of the day we all need to survive in our respective states and provide for people. So until and unless you have economic measures to deal with it, it gets difficult, and economic measures is just one part of the story. The other major issues will be food, fuel, fertilizers, health, education. So all the SDG goals along with culture are what need to be taken care of, and that cannot happen until and unless people with technology, technique, manpower, resources and of course the investment come together. So this is one platform which is trying to bring everyone together to address the right causes for all the people. And the tagline which we chose for this event is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We believe in it, and we got an opportunity to showcase what India believes in and how India has progressed ahead or is wanting to get ahead, an aspirational country, the aspirations of millions of people together, but in the right direction.
How India plans to give shape to the global discussions through its presidency of the G20 grouping?
So the global discussions have been focused on, for example, our attempt would be to bring all the perspective, so comprehensive analysis of things, whether it's legal aspects or the financial aspects, democratizations of the processes, decentralization of the processes, at the same time working together, cooperation, harmony. And so many things we have showcased, and in those showcasing, even say a small thing like in the cultural corridor, India has exhibited Richa from Rigved, which is Samvadadvam Samgachatvam Sambho Mananisi Janatam, which means let's speak in the same language, let's walk together, and let's hold each other's hand and walk together and let our hearts and minds be in harmony. And is that not the purpose of G20? That's exactly the purpose of G20. So getting African Union on board was one such attempt which we made, having discussions around digital India, inclusiveness, inclusion, digital inclusion also, women-led development, startups, sustainability, climate finance, less and less importance given to fossil fuels, so diversification when it comes to sources of energy, CDRI, ISA, so on and so forth. So at every vertical we have tried to put these elements together in a very cohesive fashion.
Ma'am, do you see some challenges as well? The challenge is there. Chinese president is not coming. He has, of course, deputed someone. But do you see this shadow of China trying to undermine the Indian presidency?
I would not delve deep into it, because none can have the authority to undermine us. We will be undermining ourselves if we speak that language. But in these forums, it happens that not everybody can be present for various reasons, variety of reasons, and many a times those reasons are internal more than external. So I would give it to Chinese government. It's up to them at what level they want to be part of it. It's not for us to discuss at all.
Also, one of the big focus is climate change issue and artificial intelligence. What kind of conversations do you expect or outcomes do you expect from the G20 summit on these issues?
So I believe climate change, we have talked about getting all the international global finance institutions to fund and finance various projects, because end of the day we must realize that the focus, if continues to be the global north, or including that of the institutes, financial institutes, then that's not the place where you can that doesn't make economic sense. The projects, the countries, the places where the growth is going to come from, if you analyze, the 3/4 of it will be coming from the emerging economies. So that's where the finance is needed, number one. Number two, finance is needed in the global south countries, because they are the ones who are impacted the most. So once they are impacted the most, the sustainability issue also becomes imperative. And if we think the winds, the air, the fire will not impede me and will only impede some other country, that's not the way things happen. So even if one country gets impacted where it's happening, but air reaches everywhere and the whole globe gets impacted. The sea level, rise of the sea level is something which will impact everyone. You cannot say it will only impact the coastal countries and not the ones who are away, who do not have the seashore. It doesn't work like that. And we are living in a world of global connectivity, so supply chain management, financial management, migration of people, everything needs to be addressed simultaneously, and thus it's a whole, not in pieces and bits that you can discuss any problem.
Ma'am, India has invited specific group of countries. These countries include countries from Africa. In fact, this is the largest representation of African countries when it comes to G20 summit, and countries from the Gulf as well, UAE and Oman. What is the rationale of inviting these set of countries?
So one, because it is our presidency, the importance India gives to these countries is for us. Plus we understand the stakes are very high, and in these stakes they are all stakeholders. So in all these subjects, these are the countries who are stakeholders. So Bangladesh becomes important if you want to find a solution, because sustainability, sea level rise is as important, and they are our neighbors. UAE becomes important. Mauritius becomes important. All the African Union nations become important. Nigeria included, I believe, Nigerian president's already here. South Africa, every country becomes important. So from our perspective, the countries we share relationship with, and we feel they will be relevant to the discussion, and being housed here, we've invited all of them.
But the Russian president is not coming. The reason has been the Ukraine conflict. Do you think that changes the summit or impacts the summit, or this is part of what has been happening because he has missed the summit last year as well?
So again, I would say that Russian president has had the courtesy to make a call to our prime minister, and we look at it from that perspective. There are internal reasons which each country is free to deal with, and we would expect that, but it's not as if there is no representation from Russia. Their foreign minister, Mr. Lavrov, is going to be representing his country, which is up to Russia who they wish to send. So I will go by that.
You're also the culture minister. What plans are there to show India's culture? You're also going to host the spouses as well at Jaipur House, where we are right now. What kind of cultural outlook will be given to the spouses as well?
I wish I could take you through. Let me see if I can. So cultural outlook, we are trying to give them a shopping experience. We are also going to be uploading their phones with some bit of money, because they can't use UPI for the simple reason that they don't have bank accounts here. But from the government, we'll give some small money in their accounts so that they could shop with the scanning of the QR code, just to give them the experience that this is how India is working and carrying on the traditions, but keeping the technology in mind as well. So you want to buy one piece of glass bangle, you could do that through your phone. And culture, of course, they will get to experience one exhibition which we are housing here, and that exhibition is called Roots to Roots. That is ROOTS to ROUTES. So which is a beautiful exhibition. We have showcased the peace tree register of that chariot, which is the oldest chariot in the world, and a few thousand BC, which is the carbon dating and other techniques have showcased, with the shield, with the special kind of sword and dagger, which were all recovered from Sinoli. So that's our, like, the centerpiece. We have got some paintings and expressions from Ragmalas, from Shringar Ras, and this could be, you could be looking at things from 2000 BC to 2nd century AD, or 5th century or 4th century, like that. Or some could be 12th, 14th century. There is a book of veterinary science which is dealing with the ailments of the horses in Sanskrit. So, you know, Ayurveda working for the animals along with the humans, that was India. And some classic pieces when it comes to the aspects of spirituality and religion. So you could see stupas and Buddhism, and some very, very finely crafted rock sculptures and stone cuts. You have jewelry which is from 2nd century BC to 3rd century BC. Some Indo-Greek influences, Atlantis. I mean, it's outstanding.
Any special gifts planned to be given to this?
So there, in the shopping experience, I'm sure there are gifts planned, and the gifts are some handcrafted boxes from across the country, a piece of a textile, a metal piece, etc. And mostly we've tried to promote one district, one product, and ODOP products will be showcased. And beautiful products, you know it, I know it, that these are some very, very exclusive handcrafted things. And that's precisely part of the shopping experience as well.
I think similar experiences planned at the Bharat Mandapam as well. The 3 C's, craft, culture and cuisines are being planned, and evolution of Indian democracy. If you can shed some light on the experiences that are expected at the Bharat Mandapam, the venue of the G20 summit.
So I must say, in the culture corridor, we have got a few artifacts from outside the country. All the G20 and other invitee countries have sent some pieces which will be showcased, and bringing the values together and showcasing those values to the world. Some Magna Carta to Declaration of Rights to our own Rigved, a copy of Mona Lisa, etc., etc. But in terms of Indian sites and digitization, digital experience, shopping experience, the craft experience, of course the meal. So I usually put it in one line and say all the 5 senses will be catered to, because that has been the planning throughout in more than 220 such meetings which have already taken place, and maybe more by now, 230 meetings probably. In all these meetings we have tried to put the elements of culture. For your ears we have music, for your sight we have dance, paintings, colorful artifacts, crafts. For the taste we will serve you the gourmet cuisine of the particular region and a particular aspect. You could feel various textiles, fragrances. So that has been the motto of G20, Atithi Devo Bhav. And under that sect we have done all that we could. and we've tried to actually showcase the rich heritage of our country. And in this connection, I must mention on the spouses program, along with the gourmet and the planning of the menu, we have laid a lot of emphasis on millets. And the morning session of these spouses is planned at Indian Agricultural Research Institute, which is a research institute.
Okay.
So everybody's come to know of ISRO. Very few know about IARI, but IARI is equally to be credited in different field of science. So one is biological science and the other is the space science. So in terms of the plant sciences, the kind of work which has gone in, because we are still a very populated country, feeding so many people has always been a challenge, but we were at one time a food insecure country, from food insecure to food secure country, and we are able to feed many of our friends and neighbors. That has been the strength of India. So from green revolution to crop diversification to millets, how our labs have worked, how our scientists have worked, to dairy farming and so on and so forth. That's also India's story, which we must all speak about. So IRI experience is going to be an exposition where we are trying to showcase the ancient meals of Indians, which we ate and which we must eat even today, because it is something which is not only dealing with hunger but nutrition. It's very, very nutritious, in addition to the fact that from sustainability perspective, it is low on costs, low on water consumption, climate change, because these seeds are climate resistant. And if the lifespan of say wheat, etc., is 4 months, a millet 4.5 months, the millet crop you will receive in 2.5 months. So even in the shortest period of span, you get the full crop. So from sustainability and taste perspective, the way Indians are capable of making very tasty meals out of anything, millet has been one choice. And nutritious, and also for health conscious lot, that is the food to be eaten.
And in many ways, the symbol of culture will be the Natraj.
Of course.
If you can talk about that as well.
How could I miss that? So 29 feet tall, Ashtadhatu, which means 8 metals, statue of the creator and the destroyer, so the cosmic dance performer Natraj, right outside Bharat Mandapam. And so the artists who have made it, it's actually, I mean, they themselves, the sthapatis, which they call themselves, come from the traditions of Chola bronzes. So they were the creators of Chola bronze, who had created bronze even for Brihadeshwara temple, 34th generation. And from the ancient technique of lost wax, technique of creation of mold, they have created the statue. So this is a piece in itself. Creation itself is a story. And of course, our heritage, the science and technology of it. Because I usually have this thing, you know, when anyone looks at a beautiful sari or a weave or something, they'll say, oh, how artistic. And I'm like, no, sorry. This is not just art. This is art combined with science, because you have to understand the tension of the thread. You have to be able to craft that thread, weave that thread, understand the geometry, understand the chemistry on what chemicals will bring which color, and how which part of the root or the stem will bring this color. So it's not just art. Art has a huge amount of science to it. So Chola bronze is not just art, but the craftsmanship of the top order, where best of the human skill along with the best of the technology, malleability point to other sharpening of the tools. I think it's an outstanding piece. And that's where we must recognize the metallurgical power of our country, from ancient times till now.
My last question to you before I let you go is how India will become the voice of the global south after this summit?
Thank you very much for this question, because that's another very, very important aspect in which Indian presidency will be different from other presidencies. And in this particular presidency, we have tried to bring global south on the agenda. Because from understanding perspective, as I had spoken initially, that getting a comprehensive idea about every subject. So global south, one, is not a pejorative term which it used to be at one time. It is a term where you seek participation, because these are the countries which are actually rich countries in terms of resources. So their resources need to be managed. Their natural resource to human resource need to be managed. The people who have the investment, who have the money, whose economies are stronger, need to invest it right to get the most benefit out of those resources, and also give away the resources to those people and those countries, so that everyone can walk hand in hand and the benefits accrue to those countries as well. So that's where global south becomes important, and we ourselves represent both global north and global south, and thus we are in the right position to make a case for everybody's participation, so that everybody is on board and we are able to take right decision for the survival of everyone and everyone's well-being, for the sake of greater harmony and peace for everyone.
Well, thank you so much, ma'am, for speaking to WION and giving us an overview of not only the geopolitics of G20, but also the cultural aspect, which I believe that many will be missing, but it will be shown when the summit begins. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you.